CelesteTAS isn't just for testers. RTA players can benefit a lot from it too. You can use it to test frame windows, find and document new strats, and personally, I'm a fan of using it to acquire more in-depth game knowledge. Even if you're not tasking, CelesteTAS has hitboxes, center cam, and the info HUD, which already gives you so much information to troubleshoot issues or just learn how the game works. But the focus of this video is going to be an intro to tasking for RTA purposes. So I'll be walking through some examples covering some basics. I have some tasking resources linked in the description that'll help you get set up, and some useful pages from the CelesteTAS wiki to reference. Let's start with a simple example like search skip. I want to find out how big this up left window is. The first thing I want to do is create a new task file in Celeste Studio. Control-Shift-R is a shortcut to create a load command in your current position. The load command is going to take a frame, so I'm going to put a 1 here, and 36 is how long the respawn animation is going to take. After that, I just want to see something happen, so I'm just going to put a big number and jump. To start the task file, I'm going to press the restart task bind, or you can use the start and stop. This is going to load, wait for the respawn, and then jump. And we can actually see that this current line is still running because I put such a big number, and you can see the frame count going up. You can pause it, you can frame in advance using the step bind, you can hold fast forward, you can stop it. So just get familiarized with the playback binds here. And before we start tasking the strat, I'd recommend creating a safe state breakpoint here with Control-Shift-period. What a breakpoint does is when you run this, it's going to fast forward you all the way up until that point in the file and then pause it. So it's a faster way to get back there. The safe state breakpoint will also save state here. So as long as nothing changes above this point in the file, it'll just load the state, which is faster than running everything again. Okay, now for the actual strat. I'm going to remove the J and make this a right dash. I want to dash for long enough to extended super when I jump, so let's open info HUD by double tapping the bind. I know I can extend it in the last 5 frames of dash, so I'm looking at dash cooldown for reference. If I see dash CD between 5 and 1, I know jumping the frame after will extend it super. If we look at the frame count here, now we know dashing 10 to 14 frames before jump is the extension range. So I'm going to keep running this, and I would like to find out how long I can hold this before I die. So I'm going to toggle hitboxes and just frame in advance until I die. Cool, I'm dead. So this took 36 frames, so I'm going to change it to 35. And I want to do an up left dash right before I die, and I'm going to rerun it. Cool, that reaches the wall. So that means 35 is good. I'm going to put a comment here for my memory, so I know that this one is the frame that works. So I want to check some of the earlier frames. So I change it to 34, rerun it, and that also reaches the wall. Cool. And if I don't want to type this out every single time, I can use Control-Shift up and down to change the frame count. And I can change to 33, rerun it. That works too. So I hit Control-Shift down, rerun it. And watching this playback is going to take a lot of time per iteration. So you can actually use Control-period to create a breakpoint, just like a regular one this time. And when you run it, it's going to fast forward up until the end of this LJ. And then we can just watch from the up left dash. If you want to add even more stuff that you fast forward through, you can put 15 frames of up left dash, which is the full duration of the dash, and then just watch it go. And if you really want, you can just add like a whole bunch of left grab and just wait for her to reach the wall. So when we reach the breakpoint, we just have to check, is she alive? Is she at the wall? So that's something you can do too. Now I'm just going to change this number to 31, run it. I'm alive at the wall. 30, I'm alive. All the way down until you die. That's a nice frame. So let's see what happened here. I moved this breakpoint using Alt and then up. You can use that to move any line around. I'm going to rerun it, and you barely graze those top spikes. And here you actually get close enough to the wall where if you did a climb jump, you would live. So I would count this because you're going to climb jump when you get to this wall anyways. So I would say this one's good. And then moving on to the next frame, this one dies. So the full range is going to be 27 to 35. That's a 9-frame window. Cool, congratulations, you found the frame window for the up left. So some of you might have thought, the 26 case, I think that would have lived if you did a demo. I want you to pause the video and test it for yourself. Does an up left demo change the window of this up left dash? All right, let's see if you're correct. So I changed this to a Z, which is going to be a demo. I'm going to rerun it from 26. And yeah, you live for longer. And when you uncrouch, you're moving downwards. The spikes are facing downwards. So since your speed's in the same direction as the spikes, you don't die. That's good. And you die. So you didn't reach the wall anyways. It doesn't matter if you demo or dash this. The window is still 9 frames. Cool, that's good to know. Let's go to another example. Let's take a look at the window for buffering, and we're going to use dashes for this example. Like before, we're going to create a load command, as well as save stating after we've loaded in. And I just want to take a look first at what happens when we dash. So I'm going to run this and step once, and we can see that we've entered dash state, and we have some statuses like being frozen, and we have dash cooldown. Stepping forward, we can see the freeze frames decreasing, and then only on the 5th frame of the dash, we can see that we have some speed. You move at 240 speed, which is 4 pixels per frame, which you can look at the position going up, as well as the dash cooldown decreasing every frame. Once the dash cooldown is gone, we return to normal state, and your speed has reset. Now that dash cooldown is gone after these 15 frames, we can do a second dash. I'm using the secondary dash bind C, because if we had X on 2 consecutive lines, CelesteTAS is going to interpret that as just holding the input. So we want to press C to indicate that it's a new press. And then if I frame advance here, we can see that I enter dash state again, and this is the start of the second dash. Now if we want to look at buffering, we want to press the second dash a frame earlier. So I'm going to decrease this to 14, and I'll put a breakpoint so it runs faster. So here I have dash to 1, and I'm going to press the second dash on the next frame, which does nothing yet. But if we keep it held, on the next frame it gets buffered to come out. And we can also take this opportunity to take a look at what happens if we don't keep it held. So if I press it for 1 frame and then do nothing for the next, let me run this again. I press it, nothing has happened yet, and I released. Normally this is where your buffered action would happen, but since I released the input, it doesn't come out. Cool, let me reset this back to a big number, and then we can go to the next case. So if we go at 13, we're going to press the second dash 2 frames early, and then the dash actually comes out on the 3rd frame. And the earliest case is going to be after 11 frames, where we hold the second dash for 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, and then on the 5th frame, the dash comes out. And then we can also see the case where it fails, if we do it 1 frame earlier than that, where we hold for 5 frames, and at this point, the buffer timer is going to expire, so on the 6th frame, the dash doesn't come out. Cool. So that means that this is going to be a 5-frame window, because you can do the second dash anywhere between 11 to 15 frames after the initial dash. Okay, it's test time. We're going to load into 6A, and I want you to go into rock bottom 2, where I want you to find out the buffer window of this dash. So I'll start the file for you. You're going to want to load in, create this save state. Let's just do last frame extension, 8 frames of hyper, and then just upright dash into her. We'll run this, and once you enter launch state, you have a whole bunch of dash cooldown. And then once this hits 0, this is going to be the first frame you can down dash. But I want you to find out what is the buffer window for this dash. So pause the video and try to find it out yourself. All right, let's go through it together. So this is just hitting the frame perfect down dash. And if I go 1 frame earlier, this is pressing 1 frame early. That works. 2 frames, 3, 4, 5 also works. And then 6 is where it fails. So if I bring this back up, this is pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames early. And then on the 6th, the buffered action comes out. So that's a total of 6 frames to buffer this dash. The buffer window is different in this case because battle and slowdown affects the rate timers tick down, and that ends up making the buffer window bigger. If you want another funny case to try, test the buffer window at the last battle in the room, because it gives you more slowdown. For the final example, let's take a look at the strat and intervention, where you do a demo hyper into a buffer demo. The part that I'm curious about is which extension frames will work with this strat. So let's assume we start from the wall, and I'll create my load command, save state, and then let's just start from the first extension frame of the demo hyper. If I run through this, I'm checking for dash cooldown hitting 0, which is going to be after 5 RJ, and this is going to be where the buffer demo will happen. And there's a slight problem. Someone turned the dream block off. So anytime after the load command, you can run console p dream dash, and that's going to toggle the dream blocks to be on. So if I run it again, the first extension frame works. And it's just going to look like the dream block is off because we ran the command from within the room, but obviously it's working. Now we can check the second extension frame and check for the dash cooldown hitting 0. That's going to happen after 4 RJ. And see that? Yep, the second extension frame works. And something you'll notice is these two lines are always going to add up to 15, which is the length of a dash, because this buffered demo is waiting for the dash cooldown from this initial dash. So instead of changing these frames individually, what we can do is highlight both lines and then Control-Shift up to move a frame from the bottom line to the top line. And if we run this is the third extension frame, fourth, and then fifth. So assuming we start from the wall, all 5 extension frames will make it into the dream block. So you could be done here. If you assume your dream hyper will always reach the wall, and then you start from here, then you know for sure you're going to have a 5-frame extension and then a 5-frame buffer demo. But let's say sometimes you dream hyper and you land sooner, and you want to start from a little bit further from the wall. In that case, we need to have a way of testing from different starting positions. So instead of just changing the console load command, what we can do is use an invoke command to call player.moveH to move some number of pixels over. So let's just try 2 pixels over and run this again. So when I run it, nothing happens yet. But if I step forward, you can see that the demo starts and I move over 2 pixels. So the invoke command runs along with the next frame in the file. And if I continue to run this, yep, the last extension frame works. And then just to save time, I'm just going to check the first extension, and that works as well. So now you have a way of testing from different starting positions and then testing the frame windows from there. And let's try to find one case where this is going to fail. So just by running this, I want to kind of get a sense of how this strat even works. So for this first extension, my hyper gets all the way over here before I start the demo, and I have 307 speed. So when I do the demo, the high speed is what takes it all the way to the dream block. So I'm just going to guess that if I were to hit this wall before I did the demo, then losing the speed would be enough to make it not work. So let's just see how far this is. So I can see I'm 5 pixels away from hitting this wall. So I'm going to change my starting position to 7 instead. And if I run this, on the 5th frame of the hyper, I can see that I hit the wall because my speed is 0. So when I start my demo, I'm actually moving at 240 speed now. And yeah, it was enough to slow me down that I didn't make it into the dream block. Now from here, I can check the second extension, and that still works. And just to save time, I'm just going to go to the last one. I'm just going to assume that's the last 4 extension frames that work. And then just to check, looking at the pixel right before, the last extension works, and the first extension also works. Based on my understanding of the strat and how it can fail, I'm going to guess that being within 6 pixels from the wall allows the full 5-frame extension for this strat. And as you go further right, the extension window is going to get narrower until it's just the last extension frame. Alright, that's all the basics I'll be covering here. Obviously, some of the simpler things can just be tested with pause buffering, but it becomes more useful to test when there's much more variables. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's any particular strat I should cover. Okay, farewell.